16 million euros, according to Spanish court filings, allegedly diverted into family accounts. 4 singles Grand Slams. World number 1. Tax debts written next to her name. Arantxa Sánchez Vicario wrote in her own memoir that her parents had left her with nothing. The scoreboard showed millions earned. The bank accounts showed something else. By the end of this video, you'll hold the documented post-career money record on 4 tennis legends whose names sit beside trophies that nobody can take away. And beside court rulings, prison sentences, auction plans, and senior circuit returns that nobody could erase either. The figures, the dates, the verdicts, the reasons each one happened the way it did. The fans who follow this sport beyond the highlight reels already sense that prize money is not the same as kept money. Most casual viewers don't, which means the next conversation about whether tennis takes care of its own splits into 2 groups. The ones with the 4 documented cases in hand, and the ones being told by someone who has them. Sánchez Vicario was not a flash player who caught a hot fortnight. She won Roland Garros in 1989 as a teenager, taking down Steffi Graf in the final and becoming at that time the youngest French Open champion. She won the US Open in 1994. She won Roland Garros again in 1994 and 1998. She reached world number 1 in February 1995. She earned roughly $17 million in prize money on the WTA's official tally and considerably more in endorsements, sponsorships, and the full commercial machine around 4 singles slams plus the doubles and mixed titles. In 2012, in her memoir, she wrote that her parents had mismanaged what she described as approximately 45 million euros, about $60 million, in career earnings. Speaking in defense of the family, her mother, Marisa Vicario Rubio, published an open letter stating that the family had never taken advantage of Arantxa and that under no circumstances was she broke. A Spanish court reopened the case in June 2013 over allegations that approximately 16 million euros had been diverted. The judge ordered her father Emilio, her brother Javier, the family lawyer Bonaventura Castellanos Mataradona, and the economist Francisco de Paula Oroclo to testify. The family-controlled financial setup is what the court records describe. Siphoning off is the phrase that lands harder than poor investing. It suggests trust used as cover. The fans who watch a player's family in the box and call it support need to read the next sentence carefully. A young tennis player needs adults for visas, sponsors, contracts, and signing power. When that adult circle is family, the brutal financial questions, who controls the accounts, who sees the statements, who has signature authority, rarely get asked early. By the time the player is old enough to ask, the documents already exist. The debts land on the player's name. Sánchez Vicario said she was left with nothing and with tax debts. You don't outrun a tax bill with old trophies. The pattern repeats across the sport with different families and different eras. Damir Dokic, Jim Pearce, John Tomic, Peter Graf, Mike Agassi in Andre's own telling. Different stories, different decades, different bills. The same uncomfortable financial pattern. Today, the same control is quieter. It signs documents. There is no code violation called by a chair umpire for financial dependency. When a stranger mishandles money, it is betrayal. When the family that built the player into a player controls the money, it becomes a category nobody trained the player to read. Boris Becker walked into bankruptcy court arguing he had diplomatic protection from the Central African Republic. The document was a diplomatic passport claiming he was a sports, cultural and humanitarian attaché to the EU. The Republic's own foreign minister, Charles Armel Doubain, told Reuters the version he had seen was a clumsy fake and that the signature on it was not his. Becker's bankruptcy traced back to a 2013 loan from private bank Arbuthnot Latham for 4.6 million euros, about £3.85 million, secured against his estate in Mallorca, and a separate £1.2 million loan at 25% annual interest taken in 2014 from British businessman John Cordwell, who founded Phones 4U. The Arbuthnot-Latham debt is what triggered the bankruptcy order in June 2017 at the High Court in London. Becker was 49. The Wimbledon broom closet shorthand from 1985 was nearly 32 years old by then. 3 Wimbledon singles trophies sat in his name on the All England Club's honours board. The bankruptcy registrar's words at the hearing were, "One has the impression of a man with his head in the sand." Becker was 17 when he won Wimbledon in 1985. He defended it in 1986. He won it again in 1989. World number 1, Davis Cup hero, 6 Grand Slam singles titles. The post-career years came with messy financial baggage, divorce settlements, tax evasion conviction in Germany in 2002 with a suspended sentence, child support obligations across multiple households, a £2.5 million London apartment as part of a maintenance arrangement. Once the bad headlines started, the sponsorship contracts that pay the debts stopped renewing. Becker testified later that his earnings had fallen by at least 50%. A normal bankrupt person goes through court quietly. Becker went through court while the world watched. The fans who think the bankruptcy was the bottom of this case are missing the cliff that came after. In April 2022, Becker was convicted at Southwark Crown Court of 4 charges under the Insolvency Act: failing to declare a property in Germany, hiding an €825,000 bank loan, and concealing shares in a Canadian technology firm, plus transferring hundreds of thousands of pounds to other accounts after the 2017 bankruptcy. Judge Deborah Taylor sentenced him to 2 years and 6 months, half in custody. He served roughly 8 months, entering prison in April 2022, deported to Germany on December 15, 2022. 2.5 years on paper, 8 months actually served. Both numbers belong in any honest telling of the case. Now he wants to return to Wimbledon and has told reporters he is working with authorities to get the right permissions in place. Wimbledon is the one place his tennis identity outranks his legal collapse. He coached Novak Djokovic through slam years. Broadcasters want him because he knows grass court pressure. But permission for a deported felon to enter the UK is not automatic. A retired champion's commercial value is trust. Once trust takes the documented hit Becker's did, the future money to pay the past debts shrinks. The fans who watched 1985 and remembered Becker as messy but legendary had a file in their head that the prison sentence permanently rewrote. Before that, the messy financial chapters could be filed under bad advice. After 2.5 years on the docket and 8 months actually served, the file changed shape. Becker, UK 2022. Insolvency Act, 4 counts, 30 months. Served 8. That shorthand now sits next to Wimbledon 1985. Björn Borg said in 1985 that the people around him were all out to take advantage of him. The man who made winning look untouchable reached a point where the trophies had a price tag attached. Borg retired at 26 in 1983 while the public still saw him as the Ice King. 11 Grand Slam singles titles. 5 consecutive Wimbledons from 1976 to 1980. The only player ever to win 5 in a row at the All England Club. 6 French Opens. A game that made clay patience and grass nerves live inside the same player. The post-tennis business story was different. His original fashion company ran into deep financial trouble around 1990 and was restructured. According to ESPN's reporting, he fought hard through that period to avoid personal bankruptcy. He had to settle creditor claims. By March 2006, Borg had agreed with Bonhams in London to auction his 5 Wimbledon trophies and 2 of his title-winning wood rackets at a sale scheduled for June 21st that year. The trophies were expected to fetch between $350,000 and $525,000. The rackets between $17,500 and $26,200 each. The reason given publicly was financial security. Nobody sells 5 Wimbledon trophies because they want to. Borg-McEnroe 1980 is not a normal final. It is shorthand for the sport itself. The 1980 final he won against John McEnroe, 1-6, 7-5, 6-3, 6-7, 8-6, is the match that sits at the top of every greatest finals list ever published. The auction never happened. McEnroe himself called Borg multiple times. Other players reached out. Public reaction was emotional. Borg withdrew the lots and made a statement on March 27, 2006. "I have decided that I will never sell my Wimbledon trophies and rackets, and I have withdrawn them from sale." The current Björn Borg brand, the apparel company now publicly traded on the Nasdaq Nordic, recovered the trademark in late 2006 for $18 million. The brand sells across 7 European countries, but the brand's recovery sits next to the 2006 auction plan that almost happened. The fans who only see the current healthy underwear brand are looking at a structure that was built after the original commercial collapse. The fans who think a successful licensed clothing brand means the original financial loss didn't happen are missing how the timeline runs. The original venture failed. The trademark was nearly sold to pay creditors. The trophies were nearly auctioned. The current brand is the second structure, built after the first one collapsed. Confusing the two is what a casual reader does. The fans who follow this carefully separate the periods cleanly. Goran Ivanišević going back onto the senior exhibition circuit sounded like nostalgia. The reporting describes something else. He was trying to make money after real estate ventures in Croatia went bad. Ivanišević won Wimbledon in 2001 as a wild card, ranked 125 in the world. 3 previous Wimbledon finals lost, to Agassi in 1992, to Sampras in 1994 and 1998. A shoulder injury had brought him to the edge of retirement before that 2001 run. The All England club gave him a wild card for old time's sake. He beat Carlos Moya, Andy Roddick, Marat Safin, Fredrik Jönsson, Greg Rusedski and Tim Henman to reach the final. He played Pat Rafter on People's Monday, July 9, 2001. The final delayed from Sunday by rain and won 6-3, 3-6, 6-3, 2-6, 9-7. The first and only player to win Wimbledon as a wild card, his only Grand Slam. After tennis, Ivanišević moved into construction projects in Croatia. Public reporting described serious losses across several deals and a property environment he himself characterized as full of corruption. He was, by his own and others' accounts, in financial trouble. The senior circuit was income. Real estate is sold to athletes as safe. You can touch the land. The numbers feel physical. When the deals go wrong, property traps money fast. Projects stall, partners disappear, costs rise, legal fights stretch out for years. The serve that won him 2001 had no use in that fight. A flat ace down the tee does not solve a construction dispute. He used the only asset that could still generate quick income: his name. Fans would still pay to watch the 2001 Wimbledon champion hit serves on the senior tour. That is market value. Memory turned into a check. The crowd thinks they're buying nostalgia. The player is selling time, body, reputation, and whatever magic is left. The Monday final in 2001 against Rafter sits untouched on the record. Life after the trophy lift kept billing him. Name one ATP or WTA legend whose post-career money story does not include some version of tax disputes, family mismanagement, bad real estate, or boardroom betrayal. 1. The fans who can finish that list in either direction have done the work. The ones who can't will be the ones nodding while someone else finishes it for them in the next conversation. Becker waits on visa paperwork for a possible Wimbledon return. The Spanish court records on the Sanchez Vicario fortune remain public and the Banque de Luxembourg proceedings continue to surface. The Björn Borg brand still sells apparel across Europe, built on the trademark that was nearly sold to clear creditors. Ivanišević senior circuit exhibitions still draw paying crowds because the 2001 Wimbledon final never stops being the 2001 Wimbledon final. If you want the documented stories of tennis legends whose careers ended in injury, scandal, or a single moment that redirected an entire life, the cases where the loss didn't go through bankruptcy court because it took a different form, that breakdown is next on the channel. The money cases got auditors and judges. The other ones got something quieter and in some ways harder to read.